Hi, welcome to What's That All About? So today's episode is asking the question, making contact, then what? And when I say making contact, I mean with, yes, extraterrestrials. The first thing I want to make abundantly clear, there's no possible way that I or anyone else for that matter can answer that question with any amount of certainty. So I am doing a little bit of speculating, a lot of opinion, perhaps drizzling a little hope in there somewhere. I also did, look into what scientists think about the answer to this. And, I want to get the hypothesis from everybody. So I want to hypothesize the crap out of it and just think about the possibilities because there's so many out there. So that said, I often sit around actually and I think about this when I'm walking my dog around in the mountains. I know you've seen the pictures, I've posted them. It blows my mind. What would it be like if they actually just kind of like finally show themselves to everybody? I know that a lot of people can see a lot of things. Their consciousness is at a higher level. Luckies. I'm working on that. But I mean, I don't want to assume that you're all thinking it too, but maybe occasionally you think about it. I would love to hear your thoughts, actually. So if you want to leave a comment, do that. And if you like the episode at the end, like and subscribe. But otherwise, I want to get right into it because this is kind of an exciting topic for me. Now, the first things that we got to come to grips with is that we need to be contacted by them, right? That would be obviously the initial first step. Then after that, it's about deciphering the message, understanding it. And then once you've done that, it really is about a proportionate response back. You don't want to assume too much, assume too little. It's like Goldilocks. You want it just right. And since there hasn't been any real communication established that I'm aware of to this point, you kind of are walking a fine line. They already understand that they're going to be kind of attempting a communication or an interaction with a species that is not at the level of evolution that they are. Now, I don't mean that we're a lesser or we're just different. We haven't reached the, evolution of consciousness that they have or their abilities or capabilities. So, I think we're crushing it as is, but I think that, we have a long ways to go. And these guys could have hundreds of thousands of years ahead of us. That's kind of, that's a decent head start, right? So they got to cut us some slack. That's my thought anyway. Then after that, I keep coming back to the same question of why now? Why would they choose a particular moment? What has happened globally that has finally pushed it to the end, like for them going, okay, now it's time we need to make ourselves known. My guess, unfortunately, does go to the negative on this. And I am a perpetual optimist, to be sure. But my guess is that they've, the ability of humans to, we have such a capacity for war and for hatred and anger. And, it's like the destruction that we put upon one another is a colossal waste of time. But that is, of course, just my opinion. I don't, I'm not trying to press that upon anyone else. I'm just saying that is where my brain goes to when I think about this and their reasoning for finally making contact. So after the knowledge, though, goes global, that there has been a message received and that it is being deciphered, it is going to take an enormous amount of time and patience and an army of cool heads to prevail. I know the United Nations would obviously probably grow into a global, all-encompassing, what is it? Is there like 192 countries? I don't know. But, and I think that it would take a unifying message in agreement with everybody. As Ronald Reagan did say, if we all were put into the same category for one cause. It's like you wouldn't have, it would be like their first step to making us work together, right? So, yay, aliens. But it's going to be really difficult for a lot of people to believe what they're being told as truth. And can you blame them? You know, whether you go back to Majestic 12, Project Blue Book, or Arrow, you know, we only know probably about 5% of what we really should know in order to be prepared for something like this. You know, I do think that another fear would be the danger factor. Are we going to be put in any danger? Are we going to be protected by our government? Are we going to be protected? You know, is the world going to be okay if they are malevolent? Just in case, you know, I don't think that that's going to be the case, but it could be, you know. And third, I guess my thought is, what happens after that day after? Just like I say, what happens next? Like, where's our place as humans? Where would we be in the whole history of the world now? Like, where would we land in this? I have a couple of possibilities that I've kind of come up with. I hope some of them are true. One would be like to engage our world governments and to achieve a peaceful and enriching future for everybody. We'll have to keep in mind that they have, you know, persevered to this point, perhaps lived through their own world wars or planetary wars. And, you know, they're essentially like, I think the saying is the OG, like the originals of the saying, been there, done that. That's theirs because they've done it. They've done it. We are just beginning to do just a fraction of the things that they've probably done so long ago. That's assuming that we evolved the same way. Who knows? You know, that's a whole other topic. I also think about the technologies that they'd be introducing. And it would be fantastic if some of the technology would enhance the human experience. On the other side of that, you'd want to make sure that the dangerous technology or possible dangerous technology is in the hands of the responsible. And I don't even know who those people would be, to be honest with you. I mean, maybe it would actually be the extraterrestrials until humans have proven that they're not going to use the kind of power that so many people crave to make an even more powerful, elitist, and, you know, isolating government. I don't know. I think they would keep a close eye on that. You know, it's possible that, I mean, you know, I understand that proposing like a lot of these things, it's you're going to get a lot of pushback, right? Like my next one is I would hope that they would propose a trade system versus a monetized one, like take money out of it, right? Just, I know that the class system differential would just be, you know, kind of evened out, maybe an even playing field. But I also am not foolish to think that that would not get an enormous amount of blowback. And I just can't help but wonder if you take money out of the equation and, you know, a successful life would be defined more by personal growth than by the growth of a bank account. You know, I just think that that would be something worth paying attention to and worth looking into. And I'd probably be really appreciative that they even thought to bring it to us. But that's me. You know, I embrace the opportunities that might present themselves to see another world, learn from other beings. And, you know, I would want peaceful, productive, prosperous on both sides. You know, I'm sure there's going to be something that we can provide to them. It's an awful long way to travel just to show us some neat technology and things like that. You know, it takes too much time to worry about things that you can't control, and you don't want to be paralyzed by fear, you know, and it's not really worth worrying too much about. if we don't know yet, right? So embrace the possibilities. They're fun. They really are. I looked into this a little further and I found, obviously the SETI group, the SETI Institution, which is the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, and they believe that the message would be math-based, which makes sense. For instance, the Fibonacci sequence, which is it's found in a lot of mathematics, but it's defined as, each number being the sum of the two preceding ones, which I get, and I'm not a math person at all. But this sequence is one of the simplest and earliest known sequences defined by a recurrence relation and specifically by a linear difference equation. I actually don't know what that means, but what did make sense to me, thankfully I found something, was that it is the simplest and earliest methods developed to create patterns. Now, patterns can be used as a Rosetta Stone, like a decoder ring for languages. And then we could maybe figure out what the possible messages could be from the aliens instead of wondering and assuming that we know something we don't. Just a thought. Now, SETI was also asked about what would happen if they presented a gift of some kind. Now, I don't know what that, would entail. Obviously, how the heck would I? But it's like, what would those implications be? And do we know for sure that this gift isn't a Trojan horse? Would we have the faith to just take for face value that they are giving us something in friendship? I'm not saying that it's anything other than that, but it definitely would probably take a leap of faith. Now, I'm not a religious person. I guess I'd be called like a spiritual person, but you'd have to really trust, I trust my gut. So my gut tells me it would be something for us as a benefit. It wouldn't be something to trick us into like dying like that. Like, they're not going to come all this way to be like, and you're done. That doesn't make any sense to me. And SETI, it's, interesting to note that they have over 8 million people are signed up to have, as their computer screensavers, a section of the satellites that they have up in the sky. Each one of these 8 million people has a section of the sky listening for messages. So essentially, they're not like officially SETI employees, but they have a network of people across the globe that are looking up at the sky with their computers and listening for messages. So they've got it all covered. Oh, but they don't. Because when asked, I love this. They asked in the documentary whether, they had a plan for what comes next. And their answer blew my mind. I had to sit with it for a minute. They have no plans for the day after. They basically say they're the message people. They'll decipher it, but then there's really no point in getting worked up about something that, it's out of our hands after that. They say you might as well sit back, relax, have a drink, and just, whatever happens, it's not left up to us. Now, what? I was shocked. I said, my God, after all of this, and your attitude is, let's throw a kegger? I don't understand. I'm sure there will be a day for champagne. I'm hopeful of that. But I expected more, I guess. And, that was my first mistake. I expected more. And, needless to say, I'm disappointed quite often in this realm because I don't get the answers that I want, just like a lot of other people. But I came across these great quotes from a brilliant astrophysicist by the name of Neil deGrasse Tyson. He is wonderful. I do not want to screw these quotes up because they're priceless. He was asked if he thinks we're ready for extraterrestrial contact. He said unequivocally and unapologetically, no, we're not ready. We're not even ready to communicate with each other. We can't solve our own problems. And to say, oh, yeah, hey, let's have a conversation with an alien that might be more intelligent than we are. Excuse me? Our biggest fear is that they will enslave us. Now, listen, we think that way because we've already behaved that way. That landed like a thud with me. It brought me back to like a little bit of the darker side of this that's possible. There could be, yes, the pessimists will say, there could be a run on guns, weapons, mass hysteria, hoarding. Remember the toilet paper wars of 2020? Oh, how we survived that. But it would be a million times worse. And then now it's weaponized, right? And financially, I mean, markets will crash most likely and think the Great Depression by like infinity. And then, the societal norms will just, I don't know, no law and order. You can't have martial law. You couldn't implement effectively martial law because the fact would be that most citizens will have taken up arms to protect themselves and their families. That's just the simple truth of it. But again, I come back to, I flip the script and I kind of want to leave that, crappy outlook to the people who just are kind of, I'm not going to say lazy about their research, but I feel like they are perpetually going to be negative no matter what. They're probably negative as a common denominator for a lot of things. And that's fine. There's got to be a yin and yang, right? I've talked about balance before in the universe. But, I am who I am, and I'm always going to believe that there's a possibility for good to come out of this. And, I believe in humanity. I just think that we just need a shot at, just give us a shot. Give us the information. Please give us the information. But I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know I kind of threw a lot at you, and this was more of an opinion piece than, high research. But that is what it is, right? It's an opinion about what's happening or what could happen. But I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you will comment. And, until next week, which I'm not sure what I'm going to do next week. I'm undecided. But I hope you stay weird and happy and healthy and take care. And thanks so much for stopping by.